Hi, I'm Rachel, a 28-year-old single mom. I'm raising my wise 9-year-old daughter, Sophie. Before I share our story, please like and subscribe to follow our journey. 4 years ago, I met Mark, a divorced dad with 2 kids. We had a lot in common and quickly became close. Mark eventually moved in with us, and our lives merged, though we kept our finances separate. 2 months ago, Mark proposed, and we thought we were heading towards a happy future together as a blended family. But problems came up when we talked about Sophie's upcoming birthday. I wanted to buy her a pony, something she'd always wanted. Mark thought it was unfair that Sophie would get such a big gift while his kids didn't. He argued that if Sophie got a pony, his kids should get something too. I tried to explain that I was using my own money from my grandpa, and suggested we might split the cost for his kids. Mark didn't like that idea. He felt that using my money to give Sophie a pony while his kids missed out was unfair. This disagreement made me rethink our future. After my grandpa passed away, he left me a large inheritance. I set up a trust fund for Sophie to secure her future, including her education and important milestones. Mark was upset when he saw the trust papers and said it wasn't fair that Sophie would have more than his kids. One evening, Mark confronted me about the trust fund. He said that in a marriage, everything should be shared equally. I tried to explain calmly that this money was meant to ensure Sophie's security and that it was what my grandpa wanted. Mark was frustrated, saying that family means sharing everything equally. I believe family means making sure everyone is cared for in their own way. Everyone needs different things. Sophie needs this trust fund, I said, feeling the weight of my grandpa's wishes. Our argument kept going in circles, and neither of us was willing to give in. I realized this was more than just about the pony or the trust fund. It was about how we see family and fairness. When Mark stormed out of the room, the gap between us felt bigger than ever. That night, as I tucked Sophie into bed, her innocent smile reminded me why I made these choices. "Mom, is everything okay with Mark?" she asked, sensing the tension. I reassured her, "Everything's going to be fine, sweetheart." Even though I was unsure, the issues with Mark felt deeper than I had hoped. The next day, Mark found the trust fund papers and confronted me while I was cleaning up after dinner. His face showed confusion and anger. "What is this, Rachel? Why does Sophie get a trust fund, and my kids get nothing? Is this what you've been hiding?" His words hurt, but I tried to stay strong. "It's not about hiding anything, Mark. It's about securing Sophie's future, which my grandpa wanted for her. This money is a promise I made to him," I explained. Mark scoffed and threw the papers on the kitchen table. "So, your promises to your grandfather are more important than our future together? What about my kids? Don't they deserve the same security?" "I'm not saying they don't," I said. "This money is from my family and meant for Sophie. I thought you understood that. But we're supposed to become one family, Rachel. How can you say you love me but plan a future that makes my kids seem less important?" His voice was raised, filling the room with tension. "I do love you, Mark, but I can't go against my grandfather's wishes or compromise Sophie's future. That doesn't mean I don't care about your kids," I said. "Rachel, you're being selfish. You're only thinking about your daughter, not our whole family," Mark said, clearly upset. His fists clenched. "Is it selfish to want to protect my daughter? Wouldn't you do the same for your kids if you were in my position?" I shot back, feeling my own frustration rising. Our argument touched on every sensitive topic and challenged every decision. The next few days were tense, filled with silent meals and closed doors. Our home, once full of laughter and shared dreams, now felt like a battleground. One evening, as I tried to relax on the couch and watch TV, Mark sat down next to me with a serious look. "We need to talk, Rachel. This situation is tearing us apart," he said. "I know, Mark, but what do you want me to do? Give up on my daughter's future just to make things feel fair? That's not right either," I replied. "It's not just about feeling fair, it's about being fair. Sophie will have a better start in life than my kids. How can we be a family if there's this inequality between us?" Mark said. His words made me think about fairness, family, and love. It wasn't just about money, it was about our values, dreams, and our future as a family. As I looked at Mark, seeing his genuine concern and pain, I wondered if our love was strong enough to overcome our differences. The tension between us grew each day, turning every conversation into a debate about our values and priorities. The ring on my finger, once a symbol of our future together, now felt like a reminder of our unresolved issues. One night, sitting alone in Grandpa's old study with the quiet world outside, I let myself think deeply about what was happening. Grandpa's words came back to me, "Always protect your own, Rachel. no matter how hard the choices may seem. As I looked at his portrait, I knew what I had to do. The next evening, Mark came home late from work, looking tired but hopeful. I asked him to sit down in the living room, where we had talked about our dreams and plans. "Mark, we need to talk seriously," I began, trying to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking a bit. He nodded, understanding. "I know we've been having issues lately," Mark said. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said about the trust and everything. I appreciate that." "I've been thinking too," I said, needing to speak before I lost my courage. "This conflict is really affecting us, and I can't ignore that." Taking a deep breath, I continued, "We both have different views on what our family should be, especially about money and our children. I can't let go of my responsibilities to Sophie, and I shouldn't have to apologize for that." "But Rachel, isn't there a way we can work this out? Maybe a compromise?" Mark asked, leaning forward, looking for hope in my eyes. "I don't think so, Mark. It's not just about the money, it's about how we see our roles as parents and partners. I can't be in a relationship where I have to justify my daughter's future," I said, feeling the weight of my decision with every word. There was a long, painful silence as Mark processed what I was saying. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "What are you saying, Rachel?" "I'm saying that maybe we shouldn't get married," I said, feeling a bitter taste as the words left my mouth. Mark stared at me, shocked, then slowly nodded. "If that's what you think is best." His voice wasn't agreeing but rather defeated. "I think it's best for both of us and the kids too," I added, feeling a mix of relief and deep sadness. I reached into my pocket and took out the engagement ring and held it out to Mark. "I'm sorry," I said. He took the ring, held it for a moment, then stood up. "I guess I should go," he said quietly before heading to the door, glancing back once for a silent goodbye. The room felt heavy with silence as he left. After Mark left, the silence turned into a storm of gossip and opinions from friends and family. Some thought I was being harsh and agreed with Mark's view on fairness in a blended family. Others supported me, understanding that I needed to protect Sophie. I knew I had to explain my decision to those closest to us, so I hosted a small gathering at my house with friends and family. The room was filled with unasked questions. "I know you've heard different sides of what happened between Mark and me," I started, my voice firm and steady. "I want to make it clear that this wasn't an easy choice. It wasn't just about money, it was about our very different views on family responsibilities." Jen, a mutual friend, asked with concern, "I thought you two were perfect together." Mark seemed so understanding. "Are you sure there wasn't a way to work things out?" I cared deeply for Mark, and in many ways, we were good together, I replied. But when it came to how we handle our roles as parents, we couldn't agree. Protecting Sophie's future was something I couldn't compromise on, not even for Mark. Jen asked, "But isn't marriage about compromise? What about his kids?" "Yes, marriage is about compromise," I said, "but it's also about shared values. When those values are too different, finding a compromise can be too difficult and can upset the balance of the relationship." As I talked openly about the conflict I'd been feeling, some people agreed with me, while others were still unsure, but discussing it helped clear the air. Even though not everyone agreed with my decision, they began to understand where I was coming from. The next few weeks were a quiet time for Sophie and me as we adjusted to our new life. I focused on my work and planning for Sophie's future, attending school meetings, and finding educational opportunities that her trust fund could support. One afternoon, while Sophie played in the yard, I watched her from the window. Her laughter made me feel better and confirmed that I had made the right choice. A few weeks after our breakup, Mark and I had one last talk at a local cafe. It was a neutral place, away from our past. "Rachel, I've had time to think, and I understand why you did what you did," Mark said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "I wish things could have been different, Mark, I really do," I replied, feeling both comforted and pained by his presence. "Yeah, me too, but maybe this is for the best for all of us," Mark said, looking at me. In the months after our breakup, life became calmer. I focused on Sophie, her laughter and curious nature reminding me why I made the decisions I did. We spent our days exploring new books, doing educational activities, and talking about big dreams. I also started volunteering with financial education programs, sharing our story to help other single parents. During one session, a single mother told me, "Your story gives me hope that I'm making the right choices for my kids, even when it's hard." Her words made me feel even more committed to our new path. Our story didn't end with a fairy tale wedding. but it gave us a deeper understanding of the challenges in blended families. The choices we made were tough, but they were necessary, shaping a legacy of strength and wisdom for Sophie. Now, I'd like to hear from you. How would you handle a situation where family values and financial decisions clash, especially when there are children from previous relationships involved? Do you think Rachel made the right choice by prioritizing her daughter's future over blended family unity? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more discussions like this. Your support helps us keep these conversations going.